my parents made sure that I had the necessities, right? Had the roof over my head, had the food in my stomach, had my school uniforms that I needed. But if I wanted some forces, I need to buy myself some forces,
Mhm.
right? If I wanted to go to the movie theater, I need to buy my own ticket. And that forced me to figure out, okay, how can I make money on my own?
Mhm.
Unfortunately, it wasn't always the best ways of making money, right? But it did give me that mindset of an entrepreneur, that mindset of managing my money, that mindset of I can get money if I need money for things.
Yeah.
Over 50% of Black Americans are unmarried, and only 2% of Black families in America have a net worth over $1 million.
We are on our journey to not only join that 2%, but grow that 2%.
Facts. I'm Devon Truvel, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game, with my beautiful co-host.
I'm Sinclair, aka the Health Nerd. You can go to our website at them4show.com, our Instagram at them4show, and our YouTube channel at Melanated Married Millionaires in the Making.
And welcome to the M4 Show.
I think something that both of my parents did is elevate above the experience they both, received in their childhoods.
Yeah.
I think they both took that very seriously. My mom came from the Bay Area, Northern California. My dad's from Tampa, Florida. So me being from Southern California, that's where I was born, but they're both outside of where they grew up. And so I feel like they wanted to, be in an area where they could kind of just really recreate the environment that they wanted to for their family. Um, yeah, they both had whatever, type of experiences, childhood traumas, all that not fun stuff
Right.
that folks go through. So the fact that they very much, I think, cultivated an environment that was, ideal for raising a family. Like me and my brother had fantastic childhoods, right? Everybody's got their different things that they can point out that they would improve, but
Right.
like I have to give it to my parents. Like they did their thing when it comes
Right.
to
Y'all did
parenting.
that.
Yeah, when it comes to parenting and really creating an environment that is good for raising a family, like they really did that. We were born into a house that they owned, right? Yeah, my parents are still together, right? Blessed to be able to
How many
see that
years?
relationship. They were married in
Shit.
92.
So 31 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come on.
So, I think 92. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 92. But yeah, I think it was just they very much were intentional about, where they wanted to be, owning their home, creating like they had me. I believe my mom had me when she was 30. I think when she was 30. So, a little bit, I mean, later is all relative, but later than some folks, earlier than other folks, right?
Yeah.
But I think again, they were intentional about like, let's create the environment so that when we're ready to have kids, when we have them, like they can grow up in a nice, stable household. And I think that worked out, right? Like again, me and my brother, like we had great childhoods. We followed the path, right? The traditional path,
Go to
get good, right? Get
college.
good grades, go to college, get a good job.
And then now you're kind of off
A
that
little
path.
bit, I kind of veered off of that a little bit, but that's because I'm now trying to do the same thing, right? It's like that's the trajectory now set is like, okay, a stable household is a given because that's what I had. So now what's the next level? I feel like it's like ownership is like the big thing that we're like, an ownership of like time, ownership of property, ownership
Yeah.
of of what you do with your
Passive
life, passive
income.
income. Like I feel like that's the next level we're trying to take it to. And yeah, the path I was on wasn't really going to get me there. So yeah, I think that's something I'm taking like to heart is like, how can I do the same thing and elevate, right? The experience I had was fantastic. And if my kids had the same thing, I would be perfectly happy. But I almost feel a level of responsibility to do the same thing my parents did, which is, okay, how can we take this to the next level?
Yeah, and I like that start of not necessarily, oh, my kids aren't in a millionaire position right now. It's a matter of, did you do better or did you improve upon the last generation?
Right.
Right. And to the listener who brought in that question, we have no idea what kind of childhood you grew up in.
Right.
Right. Possibly you grew up in a single family household, probably possibly you grew up in impoverished environment, and now you have a stable home for your kids. Right? Maybe it's not a two-parent household. Maybe it's not the ideal situation like the Cosby Show of love, but they're still able to have a better environment than you had. So still pat yourself on the back and
Right.
congratulate yourself on that.
And
But
even in,
yeah,
like, if not in those traditional ways, like, there has to be ways that you have improved upon, what you grew up in. So
yeah,
really just think about, like, even if it's like, okay, no, no, those do they didn't check those 2 boxes, right? Think about other things, right? Whether it's the way you love your kids, you treat your kids, right? Definitely find those things that you know that you've
right.
improved upon.
Look, we're gonna get right back into the amazing podcast. But if you didn't know, in 2017, we created Black Wall Street, the board game, because we thought more families needed to know about the history of Tulsa Black Wall Street. More families needed to know about the legacy of Black excellence left behind of Tulsa Black Wall Street, that we can own a Madam C.J. Walker Beauty Salon. We can have a Booker T. Washington High School. We can have an Uncle Steve's Barbecue. We can have a Renaissance man like Simon Berry, who had his own taxi service and bus service that got bought out by the city of Tulsa. We have brilliance in our DNA, and we wanted to make sure that your family can play a game that teaches them about this brilliance. So we have Black Wall Street, the board game, right here. We had the first edition available in 2017 that got sold out. We're on the second edition right now, or you can get the beautiful masterpiece version of the game as well. It's up to you. Head to playblackwallstreet.com and get yourself Black Wall Street, the board game, to empower you, your family, and generations to come. Playblackwallstreet.com. Let's get back to the episode. Something that helped me become the melanated married millionaire in the making that I am is the fact that my dad and parents at an early age had me making money,
Mhm.
right? And I think as a kid, obviously I didn't like that. I was like,
Mhm.
just let me hold 20, dad. Like, what's up?
Let me hold
let me
20.
hold a 20. Let me hold a five. I want to go to the movies. I want to get some clothes. But I think my parents made sure that I had the necessities,
Mhm.
right? Had the roof over my head, had the food in my stomach, had my school uniforms that I needed. But if I wanted some forces, I need to buy myself some forces,
Mhm.
right? If I wanted to go to the movie theater, I need to buy my own ticket. And that forced me to figure out, okay, how can I make money on my own?
Mhm.
Unfortunately, it wasn't always the best ways of making money, right? But it did give me that mindset of an entrepreneur, that mindset of managing my money, that mindset of I can get money if I need money for things.
Yeah.
And I think you brought up a great point the other day when we were just looking at both of my parents and how they move
Mhm.
within money. That I have kind of pieces of both, the mom that raised me and my dad on how to generate money, how to save money, how to be, a little bit frugal at times,
Mhm.
but then how to splurge at times as well. So I would say a gift that you can give your child or your children is giving them that ability to hustle
Mhm.
and pathways of making their own money. This
Yes.
is a lemonade stand. This is creating art and selling it to families. This is, doing, there's tons of ways to make legitimate money out there. So help them in crafting that gift.
Yeah. I think that's gonna be really good, and plant the seed,
Mhm.
like you said. Um, and what do you think, what do we need to do to make sure that they're doing it in positive ways? Like, what could have
Mm.
been done differently for you?
So I think what wasn't done is giving me the examples, not and like basically like brainstorming, right? Having
Mm,
that parental think tank and being
mhm,
like, all right, if you want $100 every single month to be able to go to the movies whenever you want, Devon, let's sit down and let's come up with a strategy. All right. All right. Well, I want to do this. That's illegal, Devon. Don't do that. Right. Okay. I'm thinking about, selling candies and sodas. Okay. Let's explore that a little bit more.
mhm,
Or I'm looking at, doing Pokemon card sales and trades. Okay. Let's explore that. I'm looking at doing washing people's bikes and razors or something in the neighborhood, like actually sitting down at the table and coming up with a business plan and a business strategy. That way for sure what they're doing to get money,
right,
because I would just show up with money.
right, no questions.
No questions were being asked. There was a time I remember in middle school where I literally stopped at the grocery store and I bought things to make Alfredo,
Mm,
shrimp Alfredo.
mm.
Right, I thought I was balling. Right, so I was in the jar, queen.
I figured,
It was in the
I
jar.
figured.
That's a whole nother story, y'all. I made jar Alfredo for this woman, and she did not finish it. And Yeah, was this after college? Or was it during college? I thought this was after college. It was
It
at your
might have been
parents'
after
house.
college. Yeah, it was after college.
Oh, it's a whole other
I
podcast
I just I
episode.
have a thing against jarred
That
Alfredos.
that she does. Heavy. But long story short, I was in middle school. I bought groceries for shrimp Alfredo. I came home. I made dinner. Like I was feeling real adult. And no one asked a single question about where I got that money.
Mm,
Not a single question. I was going to the movies often. I was coming home with new clothes. No one asked a single question about the source of my income,
mm.
knowing that they weren't giving me
Right,
income.
right.
Right. So I think sitting down and just having that strategy just gives you as a parent the confidence to know, okay, this is exactly how they're making money. This is how much they're going to make money. You can then help them make the sign, do the advertisement, and then they're also learning legitimate business along that way too.
Right. I
Mm,
like that. I like that.
mm.
And of course, with you being the business coach,
Oh
the
yeah.
dreamer, the visionary you
Listen,
are, I'm sure
listen,
they're gonna have so many options.
popping. Yeah, their business about to be popping. Listen, I'm talking about 5 figures a month.
I'm done.
I need my percentage, Kenji. What's give me my 20%. All right, so that's two. Queen, do you have a second one from your childhood, from your experience? And the thing that I was gonna say came back
There
to
you go.
me,
There you go.
right? So what I was gonna say, you said a real good kind of story around environment,
Mhm.
and that your parents were very intentional about creating that environment. They owned the home that they were in. Were giving you that love. I know that your parents were giving you like lunches as you were
Oh
going into
yeah, the
school.
food. Period.
Yeah,
Right. That was just a thing.
yeah,
Lunches, dinners. Like I always had good food.
love that. And still to this
To this
day,
day,
to this day, they
had
still
po'
have good
boys last
food.
night.
Come on, they do it. But I would say, having that intentional environment around your kids is also a good way to create that. And I
Mhm.
think you were saying this when we were driving and just kind of like thinking about what we were talking about in this podcast. But maybe you're not showing the examples of love, but you have friends that are married
Right.
and they can be around aunties, uncles, grandparents, and just other people that are giving them examples of what love looks like, other people that can give them examples of what an entrepreneur looks
Mhm.
like, what a real estate investor looks like. It doesn't all have to come from you
Right.
as the parent, right? This is why they say it takes a village,
Village.
right? It takes a village to raise that child. So you want to make sure you're intentional about the village that you're building around them, including a podcast, right?
Mhm.
Not to, toot our own horn, but we're a family friendly podcast. We don't cuss on this podcast. We try to make sure our guests don't cuss on this podcast. We try
True.
to make sure that everything that we talk about is very family friendly because that's on brand for us. So having them watch the podcast, listen to the podcast as they're driving with you, again, can help plant some of those seeds. So environment will be my number three. Thank you for supporting the M4 show and our mission to increase the wealth of Black families.
If you received any value from this episode, any value at all,
Any.
do us a favor and give us a like and subscribe on YouTube and Apple, Spotify,
All
anything,
them.
all of them,
All them.
all of them. Wherever you're listening, go ahead and like and subscribe.
And after you like and subscribe, make sure you send this episode to at least one family that you really want to see win. We'll catch y'all next time. Peace.